Welcome to Cooking with Benson. So actually this is my second channel. I do have a vlog style channel over at and stuff like that, so youtube.com/and stuff like that. But I do cooking videos over there, and it's actually something I'm very passionate about. I love to cook. I love cooking for people. Cooking is one of those things that I believe is how some people express love to other people, and that's cooking for them. But the whole point of this channel is you see all these fancy recipes, you see these people doing amazing things, and normally if you're in the lower spectrum of the economy, poorer people, you're going to have trouble making, or you're going to believe that you can't make some of these recipes. So my whole goal with this channel is to show you how to take those fancy recipes and either buy ingredients that you can afford that replace the ingredients of those fancy style recipes and give you that ability to experience those recipes. So not only to show you how to cook those fancy recipes, but sometimes you see these people making these amazing meals and they've got this really expensive equipment, and a lot of people assume, okay, if I don't have the best chef knife, if I don't have the best pots and pans, if I don't have the best this and that, then I'm not going to be able to make these recipes, and that's not true. If you use what you have to the best of its ability and your ability, then a lot of times you can make and perform the exact same recipes and skills that they do. So whether it's carving fruit or making a cake or making cookies or whatever, it doesn't necessarily take the most expensive equipment out there to achieve these things. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy cheap materials, cheap utensils, cheap knives. I'm going to find the cheapest pots and pans, for a low budget. Try and keep everything under $100. Pots and pans, you're going to aim at between $100 to $150 for a cheaper set. Sometimes you can get a little cheaper depending on where you're at, but I am going to look into that. I'm also going to look into like cheaper cast iron, because some people want to get into cast iron, but if you look at like Lodge cast iron, you're looking at a huge amount of money, and I'm going to show you different versions of cast iron that may not be as expensive, but if you know what you're doing and you change your skill levels, then you can use those cheaper equipment and still do the same amazing things that some of these chefs do with $300 and $400 knives and $300 and $400 cast iron pots and pans. Because it's not always about the equipment. Sometimes it's just about you bringing up your skill level to make these things happen. That's true in every day. Now, there are some scenarios where you're going to need a specific item, and it's going to be an expensive item, but those are items that if you really love to cook, you save up for later in the long run. But I realize sometimes starting out as a teenager, you're 18, 19 on your own, or you're 20 and you have a new family, sometimes it's hard, when you want to say eat a filet mignon, but you can't afford a filet mignon because you don't make that much money. So there are different cuts of beef out there that cook and taste very similar to filet mignons, but they're cheaper and in a better bracket for you. I'm also going to show you tips and tricks of taking really tough pieces of like stew meat and things like that and making them tender so that you can enjoy them in meals. I'm going to show you how to make a cheap pot of homemade spaghetti sauce so that you don't have to go out there and buy, even if you buy a dollar jar of sauce, it's never as good as you want it to be. But I have a really quick recipe for spaghetti sauce that only takes about 30 or 40 minutes to put together, so you could do it in one night getting home from work and have really great spaghetti or chicken parmesan or whatever Italian style dish that you need a spaghetti sauce for that night. So these are things that I really want this channel to represent and to bring to the community out there. I'm looking for people who are either on a budget or it's two working parents and kids, and you want to be able to cook really good meals for them, but you just don't have that skill set to get there. So if there's something specific you'd like to see, if there's a cheap piece of equipment that you've seen and you're just not sure about, you might be considering getting, and you want me to see if I can review it, or there's a recipe that you've always wanted to try but you can't afford, organically caught salmon from Alaska by swimmers, you know what I'm saying? Like there's always those like really weird, crazy recipes, and there are some things that you just can't substitute. If you're wanting to try sea urchin, you can't substitute that. You have to try sea urchin. If you're wanting to try scallops, you can't substitute that. So those are things that you save up for. Those are like big meals that you save up for. But meanwhile, you're saving up for those meals. I'm going to teach you how to cook on a budget for those smaller meals that are still going to taste good, so you're not stuck microwaving a dinner, or you're not stuck cooking spaghetti out of a can every single night, which there's nothing wrong with that. If it's what you can afford and it's what you can do, that's there. But if you want to be able to cook homemade, not in a can necessarily, but you know, fresh tasting items, there's a way to do it, and there's a way to do it on a budget. And that's what I want to do with this channel, is kind of bring fancy cooking to the level that most people can afford to do it. So I hope you'll join me on this journey, cooking with Benson. Have a good day.